action. What we got here? And a bleary-eyed good morning to you too, Gargoyle, my friend, my pal. And all right, so we're getting everything underway here in the Mario land of, well, not exactly Oz, but we're working at it. Hey everybody, it is Tuesday, December the 30th, 2025. Can you believe it? We've already made it this far. Do a couple of clicks here and there and there and here on the Facebook land. If you're watching on the YouTube, thank you very much. You, my friends, in the YouTube space are going to be getting a lot more stuff. Some of it will be coming to the Facebook land too, but at the same time, I don't know. Oh, what do we got here? All right, so there we go. Everything is running nice and neat and all that stuff. And again, here we go. Gosh, how are you guys doing in wrapping up this 2025 thing? You know, excuse me, still got a little of this sinus thing happening, but fear not. Things will continue to move forward and do the things that forward-moving things do. And we've got a lot of those forward-moving things to do today that you may see more of. I don't know yet. Kind of depends on how it goes. The biggest thing I'm working on today, this is like my focal point, is the my apology. I got a mute button over here. I should probably use it. That's so rude. But anyway, the big thing that I'm gonna be working on today is the 72601 Life Guide. It's like, for those not familiar with it, which you may not be, because when I launched it initially at the end of 2024, and then I've shared the story of what happened at the end of 2024 to where everything just went haywire. And so while it was active and hot for 2025, it did not live up to the potential in which I wanted it to be. I'm fixing that for 2026. And that's what I'll be doing today, fixing those things and making it much cooler. Another thing that I'll be working on in between, once that's done and that's ready to rock and roll, and I've got some learning stuffs to do, which is the fun part, truly, is the Toys or Totems brand itself connected to the book. I am going to do something that I'm sure other people have done in the past, but I've never done it, so now I'm doing it. I'm going to create like I'll put to you like this. If you've got a copy of the book, you're going to, morning, beautiful. And, oh, you're talking to Gar, I'll bet you. Anyway, but I'm going to be creating a, sort of a virtual playground-ish type thing to where, again, if you have a copy of the book, be it the digital or the physical, you're going to get access to some really neat stuff. Because I wanted to augment the book experience, right? And I wanted it to be more like, so there'll be merchandise things that'll be available digitally that you'll be able to like download and like maybe, or depending on what it is, be able to like put it together yourself. If you can print things off, not necessarily 3D, 2D too. But then also, I'm going to make it available for some of these things to where you can like order direct from me. Because I'll do like small runs of games and toys and other stuffs as we go. Because again, that's still going to remain my one product that I'm going to focus on. Because again, the message of the book to me is like really important, and I think it's something that it'll make it interesting along the way and more fun, and create a playful environment that sticks to like kind of my core of things. And that's another thing. It's like when you find those things that you put together, like Toys or Totems, the message was like the most important thing, but it also, just like, let me see if I can find where exactly am I at here, Jim? But one of the things that I really enjoy about having created the book, and its root coming from why I collected in the first place and continued to collect, was how it would inspire things. For that, I think this is the page I want to be on. A couple references. throughout the book in it. But page 55, I read this one to you guys. Where's the camera? There it is. Page 55, turn into your manuals, children. No, but inspiration, innovation, when the totem speaks, sometimes it hands you blueprints. If you read this far, you've probably picked up on it. My favorite figures of all time are in the 8-inch Mego style format. Always have been, always will be. Here's the key. So when I started learning 3D printing, it didn't take long for a familiar question to pop up. How can I make my Megos even better? That's when the idea hit. A custom action figure stand. Where do I have one of those handy? Yeah, I do. Let me show you. Many of you may be familiar with this. Others of you may not. Either way, I'm not judging you. That's okay. But anyway, I just need one for now. But anyway, what I had done there, ta-da, that's the action figure pad stand. That's actually come in remarkably handy over the years since I first did it. But one in action is Uncle Sam back there. Can't really see it on his foot because other crap in front of him. But anyway, it helps a lot. But anyway, there you go. And that's how, and when it started as nostalgic, it's turned into a functional, shareable, creatable tool, something born from play, but executed with purpose. That's how ripples work. And that is coming from chapter 10. So it's chapter 10, the ripple map. And that's what's happening right now backstage on things, is because I wanted to build something and create something that would give more depth to the message, but also in a fun way. Because one of the things about the book, and if you've read it, you'll see that it's like, it's an introductory primer to like Jungian psychology. Whether you want to go there or whether you don't, that's totally on you. But what I personally have found, once you wake up to the realization that the majority of things that have been pumped into our heads by way of the iterations of the boxes from radio to television to all of it, is that everything is kind of is Freudian based, right? And can you imagine if instead of going the Freud route, where everybody wants to do naughty things with people because that's our instinct in nature? I disagree. Part of our nature, but not completely our nature. But anyway, but then you learn about Carl Jung and everything that why he kind of split away from Freud in the first place, is much deeper, more insightful, and more inner. That the satisfaction is found inside versus outside. Can you imagine if we would have went and followed his advice? Oh yeah, man! Like the bigger 3D printers are awesome. Yeah, but there we go. I again, as the year progresses, I would like to kind of add to my 3D print farm arsenal, which I've only got one printer, so I don't really have a farm. But I would like to, but I guess some other things I want done first. But I think it would just be awesome to like have that full manufacturing arm. But I got to expand with that, like the house, because there's just not room to do what I would want to do. So if I can't like go the full 9 with it, I'm perfectly content with what I have. So there's that. But yeah, so anyway, be on the lookout for that because that's coming. And then of course, with the virtual stump, which also ties into the 72601 Live directory, because a big shout out to the city of Harrison. Yesterday morning, actually, before I went on the air, I put in my FOIA request for the most current city business license database. And so I've got that, and so I'm working on that to get the thing updated, do some redesign on the graphics and the covers, and some other ways that I'll be distributed. Because I want it to be, again, it's like when it comes to like doing things for where you are, I I want to see everybody here thrive. And again, Harrison's always had an issue with image and branding and things like that, and that's frankly that's their problem. I'm not worried about. I'm tired of those old tired tropes and labels and bullshit that means nothing really. Anybody who lives here knows what Harrison's like. It's a nice small town that you can be pretty comfortable in with all of the amenities and resources available to you. And again, with the exception of this crazy traffic thing that's been happening lately, which makes no sense. Honestly, we've had some terrible wrecks between on Highway 65 and then the bypass portion. It's just nuts. It really is. But anyway, I just want to do my part to make where I live stand out better. And hey, there's Rick Schoenberger. He's one of those guys that's worth talking about, because he makes everything here to be a better place too. So big shout out to Rick. And so that's coming. Rick, give Shirley a hug for me this morning. Unless she's still asleep, don't wake her up. Do it when she gets up. Oh, let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anything there. But yeah, so it's a busy day. The 72601 Live 2026 guide is going to be coming. That's where I'm focusing and dialing in on today. So, but I'm doing it in a new way, and I think it's going to be more fun than it was before. And um, one of the things that, well, I don't know, I'll just show you. It'd be easier that way. But I'm going to be tweaking that thing because, again, I'm a firm believer in being loyal to people, and the people who were there with me in 2024 when I kicked that thing off. I'm bringing you along. I'm bringing you along. Then I'll ask you later if you want to stay along. If you don't, that's fine too. But I promise you, it's you're not gonna be able to beat the price, guaranteed. Anybody else who wants to play? I don't know. I haven't really decided yet. I like having public information to work with because it's public information. I'm just doing something with it that I hope will be beneficial to all involved inside of the city limits of Harrison. I'd like to expand all the way for Boone County. That's kind of a goal, but I got to start with the route, and I got to get it all cleaned up. And again, that's what's happening today. What else is going on? That's about it. It's funny. It's like where everything is in the world, of our personal world right now. December is like the hottest month ever for birthdays, and then the Christmas holiday, and then New Year's coming up. So I think, I can't say for certain. This is not scientific fact, but I think one of the things that are leading to type 2 issues for me is all these damn birthdays. My God, there's been so many cakes. Lord. Da, 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 da. Yeah, see, when it comes to like making 3D prints, Gar, the thing is, it's all in the filament, and TPU filament is very good for the flexible stuff, and it's not terribly complicated as far as the way. Okay, say you've got a 3D model of something, and now inside of them is, well, okay, you have a solid object, so it appears. Now you could make it completely solid like a rock, or you can reduce the infill amounts. So you've got like 15-20% infill, so it's kind of hollow. But you could take it even less and less and less, and the less and less and less of the infill that there is, the more empty the cavity is. So, and that's what I think we talked about this the other day, is that the more empty the cavity is with the infill, and the thinner the walls without losing integrity, will allow for TPU filament to print something that will be squishy-ish. I don't know. I still got to order some, but as soon as I get some ordered, I'm going to do some experiments on that, because that would be fun to be able to do squishy stuff. But yeah, I know just the at basic settings right now, you can print like flexible shoes and stuff that look like the Crocs, which I don't know why you would want to invest that much time and material into making those ugly things. But hey, if it's your jam, knock yourself off. Well, no, don't knock yourself off. Knock yourself out. There we go. But let's see here. Yes, actually, an extruder on a 3D printer education time. The extruders are actually, they in and of themselves, for the most part, can handle any type of filament you put through there. Depending, again, you shouldn't have it now. Like the older models, there could be issues with certain filaments, right? It just couldn't handle it because of the heat needs and things. But nowadays, most of the printers that are made are very versatile across all the different, we'll call them, formats of filament. So it's very, 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 very flexible in that. No pun intended to the purpose we were talking about initially. But yeah, but no, it's like you can do so much without having to make major adjustments. Now you can change out like the nozzle tip, like as far as like the where the plastic, to where it's like, I have all the mine set to a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, but you could go to a 0.2 millimeter nozzle and do more fine details. But so far, with everything that I've done, is like that 0.4 millimeter really works well in capturing and printing all the details. And and that's what's funny. Kind of hopping back over here with what Damien's saying, avoiding the psychologist and going to the philosophy route. Now, I agree there, but that's one of the things about Jung that I liked, because his take on human psychiatry and this whole thing in the brain, really leans heavier into philosophy, but a little bit more pragmatic. But then again, philosophers, the good ones, are very pragmatic. So I don't know. It's kind of a nice blends, if you will. But way I see it anyway, because again, I can take Jungian psychology and I see the philosophy inside of it, and again, and that's how it turned into this. And so, yeah, and that's another reason why that book is not just about the toys themselves. And the things that are going to come to augment the book and its experience is to offer more learning teaching tools, but in a fun way that, again, can, because you're not taught this stuff in school. I don't even know what you're taught in school anymore. But yeah, and so I don't know, but it's interesting what all the resources we have available to us, and unfortunately, most folks don't even scratch the surface. And I'm not judging, but I don't. I think people, and this is my opinion, I think inside of the education system as it has existed now for 100 years, um, they're they're a, they get out of the educational institutions and then they're opposed to learning. They don't like it anymore. It's not because it was never fun in the first place. But if you were fortunate to have teachers in your along your journey and your path, some of them made for great learning experiences. And those are the ones that I was fortunate to have for the most part, with only just a couple that didn't. You know, there was one, the fifth grade teacher, man. She was so stereotypical of what a fifth grade teacher would be. She was old, she was a hag, and she accidentally, because I know it wasn't on purpose, because she was just cruel about things. It's like whenever you would ask questions or do something, she was just a mean old hag. And she's probably still alive. She's probably like 130 now. But yeah. Anyway, but actually her mean hatefulness actually inspired me to actually learn more because it was like my form of rebellion. Um, she was just mean. The only good thing, the best thing that came out of that fifth grade experience for me was the one thing she did do is she did encourage newspaper reading, right? And again, at that time, Arkansas still had two major newspapers, the Arkansas Democrat, the Arkansas Gazette. Now it's combined, has been for a long time. But anyway, we all had to have a subscription to the paper, right? That was like in fifth grade, that was a class requirement. And so like Thursdays, we would discuss the paper. But that's how I got introduced to Louis Grizzard and Dave Barry and Irma Bombeck and all the other feature writers that influenced me heavily. Plus, the Gazette was cool because they actually had color comics on Sunday where everybody else was still black and white. So that was neat. Anyway, what else we got? Yeah, hag. What a great word, hag. People don't use that word anymore. Hag. But she was, man. And if I had a photo of her, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's a hag. Huh, looky there. Straight, just like if back in those days when we had our cartoons and you would have the stereotypical witch in the cartoon, well, if you popped her out and cast her for a live action flick like everything is now, you would have Miss Denman. I'm telling you, she could fit every single role. She, what was the lady's name who played the Wicked Witch of the West in the original Wizard of Oz? Margaret. Her last name escapes me right now, but and she looked like a hag. She had it down. Didn't need a whole lot of makeup, right? Denman could have totally topped her. Totally, she would have made the Wicked Witch of the West just scream and run. It's crazy. But anyway, that's about that. And oh, the sea hag, boom, bingo. That's closer to what she looked like. Actually, was the sea hag from Popeye. But except she didn't have like the headscarf thingy. She just her hair looked like that. It's crazy. Am I being mean? Maybe, but it's true. I mean, she was a hag. But I don't know. God rest her soul. Even though she's probably still around, she's like the Bell Witch. You know, she's kind of got that vibe. I don't know. But yeah, a lot going on. And just like I can show you the sheet here. This sheet here is you. One of the things, like when I go into like talking about like this evergreen content service that I do provide, again, only just select clients. Um, in that, I'm applying that to everything that I'm doing. So the best thing about creating stuff like that for those who are in this thing, and well, anyone who's needing to advertise, market, and promote, in following the system that I put together here, You can literally take a day, and when you get faster, half a day. But you can take a day and you can get yourself set up to where you have that advertising, marketing, and promotion and promotional material set up and running for 5 weeks on autopilot. And that's just important because, again, most people who do a thing aren't doing the advertising, marketing, and promotion stuff on their own. So they don't have time for that. So that's why I created a system that streamlines things. If I could say anything about my experience in Harrison, Arkansas television, excuse me, it gave me the opportunity to get damn creative with my time. So I've just been building systems that are meant to streamline effort as best as humanly possible. And then as new tools came along that could help in that, I would absolutely try them out. And if they worked, I would bring them into my pipeline. And now the tools are faster now than ever before. It's just a matter of knowing how to use the tool. I'm going to show you how to do that. So, because again, one of the things is I enjoy the service work side of things to an extent because uh, this is why I'm selective in it now, is because if you're wide open, willy nilly, and just go with anybody, you're knocking on every door, taking every single possible, it's not a good fit. I mean, seriously, you have the right as a provider of services and goods to refuse service to anyone. And that's based on personality and attitude more than anything else. And if you don't click, you're doing everybody a favor by saying no. Period. Doesn't matter. The size of the check doesn't mean jack. Um, because if you're miserable in the process, it shows in the work. Even though it could still be professional and slick and everything, but there's heart missing. Because now, here's the beautiful part now for all you miserable lots out there who don't work and play well with others. There's enough systems out there that can automate your process for you and just work directly with you so you don't have to deal with another one of those terrible human beings such as myself. And I encourage you to do so. I really do. And that's why actually there's coursework that's being put together so you could do it yourself totally. Because I still want to see even the most curmudgeonly hags out there uh, do their best as they can in this really fast evolving world that hasn't changed really. I mean, it's like any and everything else in the evolution of society and technology. It's all truly the same at its root. There is nothing new under the sun. Just the spokes get shined up a little bit different, and there you go. So I'll show you how to shine those spokes in a lot of ways because I'm damn sure not a know all, end all, be all when it comes to this stuff. But I figured out some things that work and can help you too, and hopefully encourage you to keep learning more yourself. That's what I'd like to see. Yeah, Margaret Hamilton. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Did they ever show the Bell Witch? I don't know. I've only seen sketches of the Bell Witch. Maybe sort of, but I've never actually seen you know, I don't know. It's another one of those catch 22s in this world that we live, where everything is connected and on demand, and research is and information is plentiful when you just really go looking. But the thing now is, it's so insanely easy for things to be co-opted and made up and twisted, and I don't like the terms anymore because they've been used to death, but like misinformation, disinformation, and then also with talking head stuff where you get people's opinions presented as facts, and when that's not clearly defined that they're giving an opinion or something like that, it muddies up the water, and from a research standpoint. But if you're really deep and wide in researching to get a wide variety of opinions. It's that old thing, there's three sides to every story, his side, her side, and in the middle somewhere is the truth. You can do that, but it's funny. Like my YouTube feed, when it comes to I try to stay on top of what's happening in the national talking points, right, inside of that sphere, because somewhere in there may be some truth, because it's always good to ask why and how a lot just so you can keep up with what's up, since we don't have a centralized hub for news and information that we can even come close to trusting anymore. um I don't know, it's just interesting because again I'm seeing some really stupid arguments out there, and the things that people want to get outraged about. Like, okay, I'll go a little bit political, but not from a, okay, one's right, one's wrong thing. It's more of, yeah, no, they're really the same. Okay, so you figure the past 4 years, and we'll call it the Biden administration because it was, policies and societal norms that were being implemented, the woke stuff from the woke left, that had all of the right just in a tizzy constantly, which again, most of that stuff I will never agree with in a billion years, hurting children. And a lot of that stuff was actually hurting children. I mean, for real. It was more than a piece of paper telling you how to practice safe sex. Back in the day, I mean, they were literally putting forward things that, I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me is a good idea for a child to be mutilated. Period. And also, the way in which they promoted lifestyles that kids, I was one. I remember what it was like. I'm good at that. And the people around me, that again, it wasn't a talking point and shouldn't have been a talking point. And actually, if you were talking about it, you most likely got in trouble because it wasn't time for you to talk about that yet. So yeah, I'll always be completely opposed to that. And anybody who's for it and pro it and says, I hope it is compassionate. No, it's not. It's child abuse. Kiss my ass. Um, but now we fast forward and we're into Trump administration 2, and I'm seeing the same type of woke outrage from the right. Case in point, and I didn't want to talk about it too much, but um, this thing people are ranting and raving about when it comes to the show Stranger Things on Netflix. Don't know if you're watching. Alicia and Caitlin have loved the show for a long time now, and I like it. It's fine. I mean, it's it's so funny because it all starts off back back there in 2016. It's like, and then was it 2016? I think it was 2016 when they initially launched the thing. Um, but anyway, it's all built around, like, inside of the conspiracy circles, all the stuff that we knew, like the Montauk Project and all of that. And so that was fun to see. It was like the X Files in a way, right? But with a cast of kids being the ones, you know, learning about this stuff the hardest ways possible. But it was interesting and it was good. The show itself has evolved in the way the story is expanded, and that's cool. I don't have a problem with it. But I know, and I gotta just call it out because otherwise it won't make sense while I'm talking about it. But with season 5, this final season, wrapping the whole thing up, December 31st is the big series finale, right? But the way I see commentators such as Jack Posobiec losing his mind over the scene at the beginning of season 5, which was actually present in, I think, season 4, maybe even season 3, that he is saying is portraying um, sexual grooming and abuse of one of the main characters. What the hell was that? That was a weird sound that came out of nowhere. They're listening again. But anyway, it's like, okay, that's some Freudian stuff. I mean, really, this is like, if you see that scene and the way Jack Posobiec is losing his mind over it, that tells me Jack has a problem on a Freudian level. What happened to you, Jack? Who hurt you? And he just went on this rant and rave, and he's just been bitching about it the whole time. And then now with this last volume 2, the way they broke it up and everything, um, the thing is there's a scene in there, and it's pivotal to the character himself, right? Will Byer, and it's the gay scene. Okay, where Will comes out to all of his friends around him. Now, of course, this is like the woke agenda. No, it's not. And this is I'm not. I guess I'm taking a stance on this. Okay, if you've ever had a friend or friends, and you had your friends circle, um, there were differences, and sometimes there, and it was like, it was so. I'm gonna say I'll make people mad, but remember when you always had, growing up, Gen Xers especially, we always had the one kid, normally just the one in the whole school, that was the Ritalin kid, right? He was the super hyperactive one, as we called him back then. But there was always just the one. Now it's more all over the place. But back then we had the one. And then you would always have the one gay kid. It just happened that way. Not necessarily in elementary school or whatever, but as you got into junior high or high school, there'd be the one friend of yours that would be the one. And it was a different type of presentation of these people who felt that way, right? But in a friend circle, you didn't alienate them at all. They were still the same person. They just had a different take on things than you did. But they're saying, these people who are yelling and screaming about this thing and Stranger Things, oh, I can't believe that. If it was us in the 80s, you wouldn't have done jack shit. You would have talked, maybe, but then you weren't really a friend of that person. And that's the thing. If you've lost your compassion, and especially the way everything is set up, it's totally different than what has happened with this woke left thing. Totally different. It was like, I remember these type of things growing up. And it's like when I see the commentators online just losing their minds as if it's the end of the world and they're doing very bad things. Um, I don't know. I just it just drives me nuts. People have literally gotten so stupid that you can't have a public discourse without it being really the end of the world type stuff. Yes, is there predictive programming in the stuff that gets pumped into the TVs and the movies and the books and all that? Yes, absolutely, positively, there is. That's the way you could introduce new ideas and thoughts into a society. But then it's up to the society to decide what gets to stay or what's just going to be booted out, right? Um, so personally, it's funny. It's like that argument: does pop culture create society, or does society create pop culture? Well, I think at one point, if we go back before the turn of the millennia and the changing of the century, I think that society had more influence on pop culture. Where now, since there is no such thing as pop culture on the whole, water cooler talk, as I say, um, anything that can try to exist in that pop culture space now has to be so loud and flamboyant and is so controlled by ideologies ideology first, more so than societal reflection. Does that make sense? That we find ourselves in these remarkably stupid arguments or positions and everything. I've never uh, maybe I have crossed into that get off my lawn section of life, maybe. um, yeah, when I was a kid, there was always, and that's another thing too. There was always the one kid who had asthma. There was the one kid who would be the one who would need the EpiPen, but there wasn't an EpiPen. But there was always something. The one kid who had the damn peanut allergy. Just one, maybe. But that one was like so funny. Yeah. See, and Damien laid it out right there. We just didn't care about it because again, it was a different thing. I am not, since I'm not gay, I can't tell you exactly what it's like to be gay, but I've had gay friends, and sometimes I guess we may have had conversations about certain things and aspects just for the sake of curiosity, like what's going on here? But it was never anything like it's been portrayed now or pushed as it has been now. Totally different ball game, totally different conversation. And of course, saying something like that can roll you into the territory of being canceled, which is real. A lot of other things along those lines too that could get you canceled if you say it out loud. I personally don't care because if you want to cancel me, knock yourself out because I'm not coming at any of this from a judgmental or condescending way. It's just conversation, and people have got to be just bold enough to just have a conversation in public, right? These platforms are supposed to be our digital online public squares to talk about things. um, they either are or they ain't. We'll see. But the problem is people do need to connect and communicate again and not be afraid of it because the debacle that was 2020 and the lead up to with the division inside of our country, let alone around the world, again, it made it to where you couldn't have civil discourse, just talking, right? It had to become a blow up thing, and one person had to be right when that's never been the case. I mean, there are certain things that, again, there will be hills I die on. One being, don't ever hurt a kid. Don't do it. You ever hurt a kid or you're proposing something that's going to hurt a child? Mm-mm. We're going to go toe to toe, period. And not for long because I'm going to win. I promise you. Um, and actually, that's what happened with me in 2020 in Facebook land. Because when they were doing the things, and I'll say it again, when they started enforcing like the masking thing on children and saying that it was okay, No, it wasn't. No, it was wrong because in the formidable years, you need all of these things here that teach us how to communicate with one another, read each other, know what each other's thinking, and do. It's just it's how we develop. And I had an educator, a local educator, tell me I was wrong um, because the safety of everyone was more. Shut up, you moron! And I said that, but I used a lot more colorful language. Some say colorful. I'll call it colorful, and I did it with no regret, no remorse, no regret, not even to this day. And because that was stupid, especially coming from an educator. Because if you're the one of the ones who's in charge of the kids and teaching the kids things, and you're just being so remarkably ignorant that you've crossed over into the land of stupidity, I have no sympathy for you. And I'm a big boy, and I'll go head to head and toe to toe with you because that's just dumb. And we did. We had a big blow up about that. I haven't seen him since, and if I do, well, I'll make him pee himself as far as I'm concerned because it was just retarded. Because now we see the ramifications of it. 5 years later, the 5-year-olds are now 10, and they're not. They've just got social issues because they didn't get to grow normally and interact normally. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll pull down. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. And Gar brings up another thing because I remember, again, growing up, there were three things you didn't talk about in civil society, and that was politics, religion, and sex. You left those off the table. You didn't need to talk about them in just civilized conversation. Now, in some ways, that could be a Pollyanna approach, because sometimes you do have to talk about those things, but they shouldn't be your entire entertainment base. And that's what it's all become. It's like politics, religion, and sex are the core basis of the majority of things that are out there. Then you get a show like Stranger Things, which is actually bringing forth just entertainment, fictional entertainment, fictional. And it's like totally got sci fi roots. And it's funny, no spoilers, but a spoiler if you're not watching. It's like, okay, once the show, as it continues to grow through it and understanding the world in which these characters inhabit, and this weird thing with the upside down, and then the explainer that's starting to evolve is all about a man made wormhole that's caused all these problems. Okay, once you say the word wormhole and you don't understand that this is science fiction, guess what? You're dumb. Okay, there's such a thing as fiction, and a lot of these things, just from my observation and watching people as they go off on these deep dive rabbit holes of conspiracy, are not like, I guess they forgot that people do just make things up, sometimes for purely creative artistic expression, sometimes because they're crazy. Okay. So I know it sounds like I'm condescending, but I'm not. It's just people have forgotten. Like this thing with the guy um, who has this grand conspiracy attached to the one military base in Arizona, I guess it was, where they were plotting the whole thing against Charlie Kirk. When I heard this guy's story, before I saw him, and I just heard the way, and damn, I don't even want to say her name now, but Candace Owens was talking about and laying this out, this guy's whistleblowing experience. I'm like, that's interesting, interesting, interesting. Giving you some room. Wait, what? No, it doesn't work that way. No, you can't do that. That's really impossible. As far as like a guy just walking onto a military base, if you've ever been to a military base, you can't just walk in. Ain't gonna happen. And if you do somehow or another get past the gate, they're gonna escort you off the base because you're not supposed to be there. Okay? This ain't conspiracy. This is just a fact. Ta-da! Doesn't mean somebody, dropped the ball at the gate when the guy first walked in, but that doesn't make everything else he said true. Not by a long shot. And then when I saw the guy being interviewed by her, I'm like, oh, this guy is absolutely batshit crazy. And I know batshit crazy. Um, and to continue to defend that story like it's a thing. I mean, it's like you would take like C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and you would stand and die on the hill that those animals talked to those kids, because that's the facts. This is what I found out. I researched. I deep dove. Wikipedia told me so, bruh. And that's kind of where we are. It's like you can. It's weird. It's like creativity has been co-opted in such a manner that people can't understand that people make things up for the sake of entertainment. But now that made up stuff has become truth. Really? But when you distrust everything in society, remember the thing I talked about yesterday? Trust is kind of a thing and what holds the whole damn thing together. Um, yeah, it's like, okay, people are broken, my friends, and that's why it's up to you and me to try to help them not be so broken. And how do we do it? Just say hi, smile, show some kindness and compassion as a decent human being. Stand up for what you know is right. Which what is that? How do you know you're right on something? Well, I know that anything that hurts a kid is bad. There's no room for debate. Now, that's where it gets into the sticky wicket of like disciplining a child, right? Well, you got to raise your kid. Once upon a time ago, and I see all the folks talk about, yeah, well, if I did it when I was a little man, my daddy would have pulled off that strap and worked me over. Okay, that was a way at the time, but there's a better way than beating up a kid. Don't beat up the kid. If you don't have the mental capacity to have a conversation with your kid and the stick to itiveness to say, okay, you know what, you're not going to do that again, and I'm going to ensure you don't by doing X, Y, and Z. It's not just put them in the corner time. I'm talking about like, you know, do something legit. Like if they, I don't know, say they do something with the car, take the keys. They can't have the car. But you know, it's so funny because I've always adopted the philosophy when it comes to raising my child. I'm not raising yours, you do you, boo. But when it comes to raising our child, it's like if Caitlin was on the path of doing something that's like, not such a great idea, or it could hurt her, or, but see, I don't know. I don't know if it's because we started out with everything that had to be a no towards her. It was explained as to why it was a no. But I've seen far too many parents who don't say anything to their kid until they themselves get mad, and then they blow up at the kid. So the kid's been doing something for an hour, a day, a week, a month, and then that parent finally blows up. The kid's confused because I said so. Come on, you're better than that. I just don't get it. But I just like, if there's a problem, nip it immediately in the bud. Go Barney Fife on it, right? But I'm amazed that people don't. But that's again, that's like a societal thing, in my opinion. Um, I don't know, but never beat up a kid. Don't do that. No. I mean, there comes a point where you might have to kind of shake little Johnny up with a pop on the boudoir, because that is the only way to get his attention. Because there are sometimes, yeah, but not wail on him, man. My dad, he never wailed on me, but he was a product of where his dad, my grandpa, did wail on him and my uncle. And that's why Dad made it a point that he was never going to do that with me. He would talk to me. For the most part, he would talk to me about things before it would escalate to the point where he knew he had to do something, because he pulled me back before I ever got that far. Um, but he didn't have that luxury. And so, yeah, and that's why my grandparents wound up raising him. So, yeah, little disclosure there. But my grandpa wasn't a bad guy. It just, he wasn't good with kids, and it showed, you know. But anyway, I say that as it is. Well, see, and that's the thing. Again, it's like sometimes you got to get a little bit more forceful. You got to get a little more forceful. I mean, it is, but it's balance, you know. And also, in a lot of ways, if you're quote unquote doing it right, I mean, there's uh, like if you do it once, and you did it right, then I think you can drive the message home to where the I don't use the word over, the overhanging threat aspect is the thing, but it's like, what the hell is that term? Um, to where you've got it where they know is more than, it is very plausible and probable that it could occur again. I can't remember the term. Um, yeah, we'll say a deterrent, right? And that's the thing. But again, it was a different time. And again, and that's not judging parents of the past at all, but it's a matter of the way in which we have come forward in society. That me personally, I just think that there's a better way. Then again, again, we have one child. See, that's it. There you go. I always spanked my son once and never had to again. You did it right the first time. And that's the point. It's the people who don't, but that just shows you were attentive, right? But again, it's like kids are still little humans too. They got their own little free will and minds, and they have the ability to plot. And I'm not giving them a pass by any stretch of the imagination. But there's a I don't know. There's just better than just. I look at it like this. if you found yourself in a situation where you did receive the strap and you knew what that did, and then you decided you was going to do something similar to bring forth that type of punishment, you knew what you were doing. I'm, there's a responsibility thing in there, but there are also the ones that were just, and I've seen that, to where like a couple kids in the neighborhood who had the dad who would just wail on them, just cuss, toughen them up, and all this. And at the end of the day, it didn't toughen them up. It drew them further and further apart, and then into adulthood. Some people died lonely. The other ones, well, they obviously didn't learn the lessons that was intended. But I don't know. That's a whole damn different. We weren't going there. We're talking about doing things to wrap up the year, and now we're talking about wailing on kids. Jesus Christ! You never know what you're going to get with this podcast. But it's all food for thought, and we can all talk about things. But children they can be snakes. See, that was what was my point was, is with Caitlin, we had one child. We didn't have two, three, four, a whole mob who could possibly plot against us. Because that's another thing too, because you can have that one in the bunch that is the the leader of the plots and ploys. It's like, again, now me, I was an only child as well, and I had a gaggle of cousins, and there could be some plotting when we were all together. So I get that, but again, it's like if you do your part as a parent to ensure them that you are the supreme leader, you are the master of their destiny for a specific amount of time, and there is no room for argument, debate, or discussion. Where did I hear that? And I really like it. Gosh, what was it? I cannot remember who said this. I think it was Joe Jackson, actually, maybe, possibly Michael Jackson and the whole Jackson 5 plus plus plus. It was like, I don't negotiate with children, and I appreciate that. I don't negotiate. It's not a negotiation thing at all. Nope. Now you can negotiate about possibly where you want to go eat or something. You can negotiate that. But when it comes to the fundamentals of living your life every day, there's no negotiations. If I put my foot down, it's done. Period. Because I try to be as rational as possible. Yep, the ringleaders always won. Yep. See, this is what I like about you guys. See, we can have a good conversation, and hopefully people will come along later, like in the replay of something, and go, yeah, that does kind of make sense. Or, wow, these guys are idiots. I don't really care. You can think whatever you want, because it's part of the beautiful part, but just don't wail on a kid. Don't do it. Don't. Yeah, it just but again, anything, I don't know. I'm not going to excuse it at all, because not nowadays. Not nowadays. But because that's the thing too, it's like finding that balance to where when people did start screaming it was child abuse, I don't think it's child abuse to ever discipline your kid until you go over the top with it. But again, then that's for us, the people, to work out in your neighborhoods. Remember what those are? More so than government regulation, because that never works out. I've yet to find government programs, institutions, and laws that don't find themselves being manipulated for political and power reasons. Don't like that at all. Doesn't matter, the way I see it. Yep. So anyway, wow, well, we've ranted on this stuff this morning, but yeah, it's still Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's still the 30th, so we didn't go too far. And again, like I say, my big day today, once I get off the air here, is I'm just going to dial in, focus in, getting on the updated 72601 Life Directory Guide, and having that available. And why does it exist? Because it exists because one of the things that's always drove me nuts in town whenever obviously I talk to people, and people will ask me for recommendations. So, what is a good place to eat? I honestly don't know. I have places I like, but doesn't mean you will. But it was hard to come up to hand them a wine list, if you will, and realizing that the city had a business directory now. That's public information. I could compile it all basically into the phone book again, because those don't exist. And now when somebody asks me for a recommendation, I can just go, here, take this and look for yourself. And it's just centralized. Because again, centralized information is hard to come by. And so that's why I did it. And that's why I'm doing it again. And I'll continue to do it. I'll keep it updated. Maybe one day I can pass the torch to someone else who wants to do it. Fine. Because again, I'm not building it as a business model. It's just a thing. It just needs to be. And sometimes when things just need to be, just do it. And a lot of folks will have told me I'm nuts about doing stuff like that. But why not? Why not? I know how to do it. Why don't I? Well, are you charging? Well, I was, but I'm not now. But it still needs to exist. The virtual stuff, just as far as simple minute and a half videos so you can see who's running for office and wants to be in those roles, to get you connected with them and they can get connected with you so you can see if they're the right person for the job that you are hiring them for, or at least attempting. That just makes sense to me. And if people don't want to do it because they can't make the money off of it, well, then you're making a mistake. It's the wrong motivation if it is something for society. Now, I do offer services to people if they want to enhance their reach, but I offer that to everybody, long as we get along and we can work together. But if we can't, then no, I'm not interested. Nope, ain't willy nilly. But we'll see. I don't know. Like I say, that's just the little things in the way I see life. The things that just need to happen, do it. Like, why not? That's just me. See, I like that, Damien, that you can just go on for hours about stuff, wide variety of topics. Cool. And that's what we're here for, because there'll be a lot of wide variety. It's like right now it's funny because it's like structured conversation inside of this space is a little tricky because again, we're at the end of the year. I'm getting prepped for things for the beginning of the year. And so once I've got all of these things done and then launched out to the world, then I don't have to talk about them so much. And I want to figure out what to talk about. There's interesting conversation that I'm really looking for, the things that people aren't talking about that they might want to be paying attention to, but it's all noise with all the other stuff that everyone is talking about. That doesn't really do anything because the cycle is just going to continue to just go up and down with the same old things, and it's boring and it's lazy. Um, but that is why. Now, one thing though is one thing I'm wanting to implement as we continue to move forward with this coffee thing. I don't feel for a second that the knowledge and information being put out about the AI systems that are available, not just the fluffy play along, make everybody a Christmas photo stuff. That's good, that's great, whatever. But there are certain things that I think people need to be aware of that they're not aware of because all of the other noise. So if I could do my part to just share some information about some things as I'm learning about them, because I try to find the practical things. I like the fun stuff too, but the practical things that are going to matter, um, just to share the information, just so you know, this in my little circle of the web, to be able to just get you some info. And because again, it's hard to keep up with, and it all is moving super fast, and the world's not going to look the same by this time next year. It's just not. Mark my words. Mark the calendar. Take a look. It will not be working in the same manner. Now, some things will look the same but operate different under the hood. Some things that are already under the hood and rolling are going to come to the surface, and you're going to see it. I'm not saying underground reptilians coming to the top, but maybe, because the way we keep getting these wars, scandals, and everything else being exposed for what it is, we may get ourselves an alien invasion now, or interdimensional, whatever. They got to do something, because again, the stuff that is coming out, that is proving with real receipts that bad things are being done by people who think they have power only because we allowed them to have the power. And they went unscathed because they're also the ones who get the opportunity to write the laws, and they can change them as need be. Yeah, that's coming to a head on a lot of things. God only knows what that's going to look like. But we'll see. Yeah, let the bombs roll. 8:52:21 outside in the 72601 region. And I hope you have a great day. I'm going to get off here. I got to get diving in because I want to get that done today. Keep an eye on all the miscellaneous socials I've got, because as soon as it's out, you'll see it. Anyway, have a great one, everybody. We'll talk again tomorrow, 8 a.m., because this is kind of a fun little habit I'm in. And I like coffee with you. It's fun.